In this video for section 3.7, we're talking about the 5-number summary and box plots. The 5-number summary consists of the following 5 numbers: the minimum value in the data set, Q1, the median, Q3, and the maximum value or the highest value in the data set. One thing to note about quartiles is that they are special cases of percentiles. And so Q1 is considered the 25th percentile because it's above 25% of the data. The median is at the 50th percentile because it's above 50% of the data. And Q3 is at the 75th percentile because it's above 75% of the data. Percentiles tell you the percent that are below the value that you're at. So for example, you see percentiles often when you're talking about like children's height and weights. If a baby is at the 75th percentile for height, then that means that it is taller than 75% of the population. So here's an example of a 5-number summary. This is monthly trading volume of AIG shares. And you see we have the maximum, Q3, the median, Q1, and the minimum value. We can display the 5-number summary in something called a box plot. Sometimes it's called a box and whiskers plot. And a box plot looks like this. We have a box that goes from Q1 to Q3. And we have a line in the middle of the box that marks the median. Whiskers connect Q3 to the maximum entry on one side. We mark the maximum entry with a dot. And then another whisker on the left side connects Q1 to the minimum value, also marked with a dot. So here's an example of a box plot. This one is displayed vertically. This is for the AIG values from before. And sometimes in a box plot we mark outliers with dots or asterisks. So you can see that in this box plot. We're going to talk more specifically in the next video about how to figure out exactly which values are outliers. But you'll see this in the homework. There'll be some box plots that have outliers marked with dots. And another thing that a box plot can tell you is it can tell you something about the shape of a histogram. So if the median is roughly centered in the box, then that tells you that the data is roughly symmetric. If it is not centered, then that tells you that the distribution is skewed, and so the histogram would be skewed to one side. So in this example, I can see that the median, the line for the median is not in the middle of the box. So that tells me that a histogram of this data would be skewed to one side. So we're going to do an example here. This is our sibling data from earlier, and we're going to make a box plot. I'm going to show you how to do this on Minitab. So this is how many siblings that you have. I've entered the data already just by typing it into the cells in Minitab. Remember that if you're doing a homework problem, you can copy and paste data by clicking on that blue box in the upper right corner of a data table. If you're not sure about that, then check out the video on calculating measures of center. So what I'm going to do next is click on this button that says Graphs, or you can click on the word Graphs in the toolbar that's at the top of the window. And if I click on this button, I see options for many graphs. A lot of these graphs you're going to be using in the data analysis assignment number 1. So we've talked about histograms, stem and leaf plots, box plots, and we also have bar charts and pie charts for categorical data. I'm going to click on box plot because that's what I want to make. I have some options here if I have multiple variables. In this case, I just have one, so I'm going to make a simple box plot, and then I need to select the column. In this case, it's C1. When you do the data analysis assignment, there's going to be multiple columns in the spreadsheet that you're going to use, so you're going to have to select the right one. But in this case, it's just, I only have the one column here. And then it brings up my box plot. So here's what the box plot looks like. It's displaying it horizontally. I can pull this down if I want to see it a little bit better because it's kind of big. It's displaying it vertically. If I want to display it horizontally, if I select the box that the graph is in by clicking on it, it shows up with a blue outline. And then if I click on this button right here, Graph Layout, I can change it from vertical to horizontal. Some other options that I might want to change, I can access by clicking on the plus sign. If I want to add a subtitle, take off or add labels, grid lines, those kinds of things, I can find them right there. And then lastly, if I scroll to the bottom below the box plot, I can see the 5-number summary. And so if you make a box plot, when you're doing the homework, some of the questions will ask you for the 5-number summary. And so you can make a box plot and then look at the 5-number summary right on that same screen. And that's how you make a box plot in Minitab.